country as we work through this very difficult transitional process.
If the Syrian government were to just immediately fall, what would happen to Syrian Christians? What would happen to Syrian Alawites?
Look, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals about a situation that we're actually obviously trying to avoid. It isn't about the fall of the regime. We are trying to get to a transitional process of governance that preserves even some of the existing infrastructure going forward, but that at the end of that process gets us to a government that is put in place by the Syrian people, with their voices being heard, and it doesn't include Bashar al-Assad.
Well, I know where.
So as Congress makes up its mind on whether to take military action against Syria, anti-war groups are getting ready to stage protests in Times Square today. Rosa Flores joining me live now from New York. So Rosa, tell us more about the protests unfolding there in New York.
Yeah, well, those protesters are making their way here to Times Square, and I'm actually here with one of the organizers, Caleb from the International Action Center. And I know that you guys are expecting dozens, if not hundreds, of people here. But first of all, explain to us kind of what is your mission? Why are you guys here?
The last thing we need right now is a new war against Syria. Right now, they're cutting food stamps, hospitals are closing, schools are being shut down. There's a budget crisis in this country. We do not need more money for a new war against Syria. Every one of the cruise missiles they would send would cost over $1 million. That could be teachers that could be hired. That could be hospitals that could be opening. But instead, it's blowing up and killing people in another country, and that's not right.
Now, let me ask you about the support that you're getting, because from what I understand, lots of organizations are coming out of the woodwork and asking to be involved. Tell us a little bit about the involvement of other organizations that perhaps would not be, in this case, participating in something like this.
Well, 89% of the U.S. public is opposed to this war. People in this country overwhelmingly oppose an attack on Syria. But that won't mean anything unless people do something about it. If people aren't in the streets and organizing and demonstrating and making clear to the government that they will not let this war pass, that won't mean anything, because we've seen so many times the government not listen to the people and go to war. I don't believe what's coming out about this chemical weapons attack. I have a lot of questions about it. There are a lot of facts that just aren't adding up. And we've heard about weapons of mass destruction before. There's so many lies to take us into war. We don't need a new war. We need jobs, schools, education, and not a new war against the Syrian people. And these rebels that our government and our tax dollars are paying for, they're not good folks, and they're doing awful things there in Syria, and we should not be supporting these rebels in Syria.
Right now in this city, hospitals are closing, schools are closing, all kinds of resources that people in this city use to survive are being shut down. Well, what are they talking about doing? They're talking about a new war against Syria. How much money is every single one of these missiles going to cost? At least $1 million. That could be teachers, that could be nurses, that could be doctors. But instead, it's going to a war. Do we want that? No. And now, you know, there have already been 100,000 people killed in this war in Syria. And they've been killed because our tax dollars are going to fund the Syrian rebels. A lot of these Syrian rebels aren't even from Syria. They're from places like Qatar, places like Jordan, places like Libya, and they've been shipped in. Syria was a peaceful country, and now there's a civil war going on. And the United Nations has reported that these rebels in Syria, funded by our tax dollars, are recruiting children as young as 11 and 12, and they're recruiting them and using them to kill people in Syria. Chemical weapons have been used by the Syrian rebels. They've used them. Carla Del Ponte from the United Nations has confirmed that. They're using sarin gas, and they're killing innocent people in Syria with our tax dollars. Yes. And the reason that they're talking about striking Syria right now, the reason they're talking about striking is because those rebels are losing. Why are they losing? They're losing because the people of Syria don't support them. They don't support foreign importing insurgents trying to tear up their country. And that is why Obama wants to send the missiles to do what the rebels can't do, because they don't have support on the ground. We want the people of Syria to run Syria. We want money for jobs and schools and education, not a new war. I'm with FIST, Fight Imperialism, stand together, and you can check us out. Thank you.